I got a call to come in and make molds actually on the what they call the Penguin crew. We were in the bat shop over as at part of Warner Brothers, and we would. It was brought in to make molds of the body parts and stuff because the Penguin's body was completely sculpted and fabricated over Danny DeVito's body cast. It was leg pieces down to the knees and, you know, a big belly piece that I helped to prototype, making it so that it jiggled right and all that kind of stuff, and big pectorals that hang down, and, you know, really, it actually was made so his elbows were strapped in into the side, so he really only had this much arm movement. He couldn't do this. So that's what I was brought in for initially, and then after a few months of that, once all of the, probably about 2 months of that, all the molds were done on the Penguin stuff and all of that, so they moved me over into part of the foam shop where I was seaming and patching and fixing up all the Batman cowls and suits and assembling the Catwoman pieces and headdresses and stitching and all that kind of stuff. The original Batman they did in England. They shot Batman Returns here in Los Angeles, but they brought the key people that manufactured all the original suits in England over here. So they were in charge of the shop, was the English crew, and then they filled everybody in the departments with American workers. I will say I learned a few things from the English crew about some materials I never would have thought of and everything. You get a new kind of perspective on things, but I think that they were pretty amazed at how quickly we hit the ground running and were able to, you know, kind of surpass everybody's techniques pretty fast. I would get parts of the bat suits and things like that, partially assembled suits sometimes, things like that, and there'd be a little air bubble in a piece where there'd be a nice clean line like this, and then boom, there'd be a little air bubble. There's a scene in the movie that drives me crazy. I can't believe it, because I made so many cowls, or well, I fixed so many cowls to make look good and all of that stuff. And the one day they're doing the close-up of Michael Keaton in the little sewer scene where he's down like the bat boat thing and he's going down through the sewers and whatnot. It's his total close-up. It's this. It's just a headshot and everything. And there's a big bubble right here on the tip of the nose of the cowl that he's wearing. I'm like, was nobody paying attention that day? So, you know, I don't think I would have let that go by. But yeah, we did 14 different cowl designs on that show, because we'd do one and Michael would put it on and it didn't fit quite right, so he'd tear it off and say, fix this, it doesn't work, this, I can't do this. Okay, so we'd take it back and we'd fix it and we'd have to change it. Once it was changed, we'd put it on, and then, you know, either if we got it right and he liked it, then great. If that was all fine, then we'd go to Tim Burton, who would say, the nose on this one's just a little bit too hooked. Can we straighten that out? So we go back to the drawing board and make another one, and went through, you know, literally 14 different cowl. We were remaking new cowls all the way up until the last probably 3 or 4 weeks of shooting. And they're so almost exactly the same. There's just no way of really knowing the difference between the two. If you held two next to each other, you wouldn't really know unless you were a real expert and could say, oh, look at this one. The ear is like, you know, that much longer, or, you know, that kind of thing. So that's what I did on Batman Returns, making the patching his suits and things like that, make them all look good. All of the stunt suits had a seam going up the back of the cowl. All of the hero, really nice super cowls that Michael Keaton wore were made in seamless molds, which is why making 14 different ones was so difficult, because they had to be a seamless negative with like a core that fit down inside of it and fit together like a Chinese puzzle. And then you make all of that, make all the different pieces, get it all there, take it in, try it on, it doesn't work, great, send it back to the drawing board and have to do it all over again. So, no wonder we were on that show for so long. Getting in the the costume was just, you know, once the costume was made, you know, it was not too tough to get into. It's in fact, for the most part, the whole rest of the body was mostly kind of a spandex body with foam latex on it. It had to have been really comfortable, except for this heavy cape and the buckling thing that fits right here and holds it all into place, and then your neck's all done. So this part in here probably wasn't great. But as far as the rest of the body goes, you know, pajamas. I think it was just a way of finding a walk for him, you know, that he wanted to do. He had a stair double, the guy that walked upstairs for him, because the guy walked upstairs better, you know. He had a double for jumping in and out of cars. He had a double for his fights. I will say that Michael Keaton is probably in the costume fully and completely on screen 10% of the time. All the rest of the time you see it's his double. Well, because this has to be Michael. After that, he's a guy in black running around on screen. You know, he can be anybody. As long as he had the right body size and right, you know, kind of attitude. Custom suits for Michael. We made custom suits for 2 of his stunt doubles, and then I think there was at least 1 or 2 others that wore those other suits sometimes. Same thing with Catwoman. There were 4 different stunt doubles, I think, for her, who did almost all of her work. Other than, you know, it was always waist up. It was Michelle, but anytime she had to do anything specific, it was a double. I know that we had 2 body casts of stunt doubles that we built suits onto, and then I know there was at least 1 other one that had to wear one from time to time. Like I said, there was a stair walking double and a jump in the car double and a fight double and a whatever it is. If you had to act, it was Michael. I know that I did 36 cowls for her. And there were 3 different cowl designs depending on how the state of decomposition of her costume, you know. When you first see her and it's all really put together, I probably did 9 of those, and then, yeah, I think I did like 9 of each one of them, I think. 326 stitches in each head. You learn those things. Fix all the stitches. Getting Catwoman in and out of her costume was like a 45-minute or hour and a half ordeal, depending on how into the costume we needed to get her. But her costume was basically, for all intents and purposes, what they called a standard number 9 latex catsuit out of the fetish wear catalog. And then we sprayed a lot of latex panels and things like that to make her corsets out of and whatnot. The interesting thing about her costume is when you see her costume starting to tear apart and you can see her skin through her costume, that's not really her skin. It's a flesh-colored latex panel, because the latex costume, if it did get a little tear in it, would get a run and it would just tear all the way up the leg, and it wouldn't have the body and strength to. So all of her tears were like little wound prosthetics glued onto her costume to blend off and everything and look like it was tearing, and there would be sculpted stitches, and then where it was torn open we'd put real thread to have it flayed out and all of that, and then it'd go back into sculpted stitches. But underneath was a little panel of flesh colored latex, so that it would do that. Her cowl or headpiece, rather than really pulling her hair through it when her hair comes through it, we put like wig panel pieces into it to pull the hair through, things like that to make it more durable. She had to have been hot in that costume. I mean, it's just try wrapping yourself in saran wrap for a day. It can't be all that comfortable. Well, the penguin suit was originally going to have, I believe they were talking about potentially a nude scene in a bath. So all of the stuff we made for him had to be textured just like real skin and all that kind of stuff. At a certain point, they decided not to do that and just have him wear that dirty, grubby union suit all the time. So it still had to look good underneath. There still had to be like, you know, the cottage cheese cellulite look and things like that in it. But at the same time, you know, it made a lot of the extra work that we did kind of superfluous. We didn't really have to have gone through that much labor to do it, especially once they built that, you know, Chester Copperpot costume over the top. And, you know, underneath it could have been cardboard. But we had urethane companies that developed special urethanes for us because they hadn't perfected plasticizing silicones like they do now to the point to where they could make a jiggly stomach well enough that didn't weigh, you know, 115 pounds. So in order to make it hollow and things like that, to do that, I pioneered some things with like an air bladder belly on the inside of a thin skin of this gelatinous material that a urethane company made for us, and they ended up calling it flabbercast, you know, because it was like blubber, and, you know, things like that. It was a good show to prototype things. Making the capes for Batman was a real interesting thing because they use something called elephant hide vinyl, which is just this really coarse, wrinkly kind of naugahyde. And you lay it out in big triangular pie shapes to make a half a circle. And then you spray black latex all over that and lay worsted wool, really, really expensive wool fabric right down onto it, so it's nice and neat and bonds right into the latex on one side, so that his cape on the back side looks like bat skin, you know, bat wing skin, that kind of thing. And you do the inside like this, and it's blacker than black on film, which is why underneath his cape kind of just disappears. It's to make him invisible, you know, things like that. Really nice little details that I think make that suit so iconic and make people really love it. As a mold maker, they ask you a lot of things like, well, we need to make this, how are you going to do it? And, well, you have to kind of come up with some things and whatnot. But I will say that very little gets done on any show, especially a show like Batman, without decision being made by a committee. From the top all the way down, they have their ideas of what they're going to do. All I could do from my end was try to embellish it and throw in my 2 cents. Sometimes they went, hey, that's a great idea, let's do it. Other times they went, Rob, shut up.